We want to give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah B'Shem Yahushua this day. John 39. And it says, and I'll delve into that a little bit since I mentioned it. And it says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuses you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? You know, that's a very major thing. Because he said, if you don't believe Moses' writings, you're not going to believe what he says. So let's look at something in Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter and the 18th verse, before we get to Deuteronomy 6. And then after Deuteronomy 18, we'll go look at, I think it's Romans 9, if I'm not mistaken. Just going to hammer this point in. Because he said, if you don't believe these writings, you're not going to believe his words. So basically, he pointed to these people and telling them, you don't even believe what was written aforetime. So if you don't believe what's written aforetime, you're not going to believe it when I tell you that it's speaking of me. Deuteronomy 18 and 18. Matter of fact, make it 15. Deuteronomy 18 and 15. It says, Yahuwah thy Elohim will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, and unto him ye shall hearken. Now, there's a reason before we even go any further. He said that he'll raise up a prophet. Moses is telling these people this. You know what I'm saying? You got to sit back and look at this. This is Moses speaking this, telling them that Yahuwah will raise up a prophet that's like him from amongst their brethren. You'll listen to him. Listen, next thing he said, according to all that thou desired of Yahuwah thy Elohim and Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not. So we need to go back to Exodus chapter 20 then, right? Because he said it's going to be according to what the people desire. So that's why these dudes be tripping me out with it, and I see he's going to direct this. He said this is what the people desire. So let's look at what the people desire. Hold Deuteronomy 18. He said, because you could have just hollered at Yahuwah directly. He said, but that ain't what you desire. Deuteronomy, Exodus 20 and about 18. Just check just peep the game now. And the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. So that's what the people desired. They said they didn't want Elohim to talk to. They said, Moses, you talk to us lest we die. This is what they desired. So we need to look at something else, just for this point of reference, right? I want you to look at Exodus chapter 4. Just a point of reference how the law just be showing how dumb some of these niggas is, man. Exodus chapter 4, verse 14. Matter of fact, Exodus 4 and 13. Let's just make it 11. Because it's going to lead to what I'm finna hit in John, y'all willing in a moment.
Hey, pick up your chair.
And Yahuwah said unto him, who have made man's mouth? Or who make the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I Yahuwah? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. Now we done went over that before. That John 12:49. We know he was with the master's mouth. He taught him what he had to say. But the key thing is you see Yahuwah sending him. It's the whole key thing we're looking at. You see Yahuwah sending him. He said, and he said, oh, my master, send, I pray thee, by the hand of whom thou wilt send. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Moses, and he said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he could speak well. And also, behold, he come forth to meet thee, and when he see thee, he will be glad in his heart. And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth, and I will be thy mouth. I will be with thy mouth, pardon me, and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. And he shall be thy spokesman unto the people, and he shall be to thee instead of a mouth, and thou shalt be to him instead of Elohim. Now we just reading it because he said that Moses would in all essence would be as Elohim, and Aaron would be his prophet. But see, now we need to sit back and we need to look at this right here, right? What is this? Let's look at Joshua chapter 1. I know I'm skipping the verse in Deuteronomy that I need for that. Yeah, Deuteronomy 31 first, about 22. We might need to look at numbers. We're going to look at some stuff in the law, but Deuteronomy 31 and 22. Just drop Joshua chapter 1. I don't even need that. And we'll come and look at Numbers 27 and 17. That's another place of Numbers that I desire to. Might be chapter 11. Let me see. Let's look at this Deuteronomy 31 and 22 first. And it says, Moses therefore wrote this song the same day and taught it to the children of Yasharah. And he gave Yahushua the son of Nun a charge and said, be strong and of good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Yasharah into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee. Now ain't that something that Moses is telling that Yahushua son of Nun, he'll be with him even though he finna die and he already knew he was going to die? But he just told him that he would be with him though. And remember, he made him as Elohim instead of Elohim as when he referring to Aaron. So we can look at Moses in certain instances as being as Elohim. The same, and the reason why we're looking at this, taking this point in, is because he said that he would do this because this is what the people desire in Horeb, that they would want a man to speak the word to them instead of Elohim himself. You know what I'm talking about? Now we are already seeing that Elohim himself manifested the word to Moses. You know what I'm saying? And Moses manifested it to the people, as we done dealt with before, Moses being the form of the first apostle that you would see. Really, the first apostle you would see would be Adam. You know what I'm telling you? But then you turn around and you see this with Moses. Come on with the number 27, though. 27 and 17, I would say. And then we'll look at Deuteronomy 34 and about verse 7. Just have to run this stuff down out the law first before we proceed. Because remember, he told Moses to go. He told him to go. Hold on now. This is what he tells him. 27:17. Well, 16. Let Yahuwah the Elohim of all ruachs, of the ruachs of all flesh, pardon me, set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in. Let the congregation of Yahuwah be not as sheep which have no shepherd. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, take thee Yahushua the son of Nun, a man on whom is the spirit, and lay thy hands upon him. And set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. And thou shalt put some of thy honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Yasharah may be obedient. Now, he told the people to obey Moses because Moses was his representative. And now you see him saying, lay some of that honor on Yahushua son of Nun that the people might be obedient. Because the whole key point of the matter is, he said, you didn't want to hear from me, so you're going to hear it from a man just like you asked. This is why Moses said, according to your desire in Horeb, this is what you asked for. You know what I'm saying? So dudes kill me when they say that, is because this, if you say you were the seed of Yasharal and you quick to scream you an Israelite, this, that, there, and the third, and you can't be quick to run up and say to Ruach, your teacher, because that ain't what you asked the man for. You know what I'm saying? You asked that man to have a man teach you. That's what you asked him for. You know what I'm talking about? So when you turn around and you look at it, he say, give him a man. He say, like unto your brethren, like unto me. And we done dealt with it before. And you see in Jeremiah chapter 3, about verse 15, he say, give you pastors according to his heart, that'll give you knowledge and understanding. That means men that'll be conforming to the image of the Son of the living Elohim, that he would raise up amongst the brethren to teach the people. Because that's his will. And that's what you asked for. You know what I'm saying? That's what you asked for. See, we could have actually been getting taught directly from Elohim, but the people were fearful, and rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? And rightfully so. I know full well if any one of us would have seen what they saw, you would have been scared too. I doubt any one of you could say with pure confidence you would have been standing there like, shoot, I don't see that. I'd have been like, shoot, keep on talking, sir. You ain't never seen a sight like that before. That's why dudes trip me out when they say, oh, if I see a demon, I'm going to fight. No, you're going to be scared just like everybody else. You don't see that every day. That'd just be like if you seen bears and lions running down the street. You're going to be it's going to have you quite nervous. I don't see this every day. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody in Africa who live in the wilderness on them safari planes and all, they see that stuff every day. They gonna bother them. You know, white folks like to live in the woods and you know what I'm talking about, do all the crazy stuff they like to do out there. Seeing wild animals don't bother them. But if you from the city, you see a wild animal, it's probably gonna bother you. Shoot, black folks get bothered when they see a loose dog in the neighborhood.
Isaiah. Hey. Why'd you do that?
You looking out, man. I don't know what you got going on here. Where we at? Deuteronomy 34:7. Matter of fact, read verse 21 and number 27. My apologies. Let me read that right now. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, whom shall ask counsel for him after the judgment of Urim before Yahuwah. At his word shall they go out, and at his word they shall come in. Both he and all the children of Yasharah with him, even all the congregation. And Moses did as Yahuwah commanded him, and he took Yahushua and set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation. And he laid his hands upon him and gave him a charge as Yahuwah commanded by the hand of Moses. So Yahushua, the one he set over the people, he got a responsibility and a charge. Deuteronomy 34:7. Well, isn't that special?
What, Lizzie?
I gotta give him some. 34:7. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes was not dim, and his natural force, nor his natural force abated. And when the children of Yasharah wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days, so the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. And Yahushua the son of Nun was full of the ruach of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him, and the children of Yasharah hearkened unto him, and did as Yahuwah commanded Moses. So you see that there? Now I'm gonna ask y'all a question, right? What's the key thing that stood out to y'all that what happened between Moses and Yahushua right here? It's two things that, and we also seen it in Numbers 27. What's the key thing you sit back and you see right here? Just for a justification, I think to bring this to remember, if my memory served me correctly, we went over this not too long ago. What can we see in the New Testament, specifically in the book of Acts or in other places, where this would line up with why they were doing this and why these people and why they were down like that? Anybody got an idea what I'm leaning to based off what we heard? If not, I'm gonna go ahead and put it.
Go get it and put it in the trash.
Come on over here to 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12.
Leah, stop.
Now you got to remember, Yahushua, son of Nun, was he old or was he young?
Get off her plate.
Was he a young man or old man? Anybody, somebody help me, please.
Young man.
He was a young man. You know what I'm saying? Now keep that in mind when we read this here in 1 Timothy 4 and 12. Because he set him over a body of people, right? They had to follow. He said, let no man despise thy youth. He said, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in behavior, in love, in ruach, in faith, and in purity. Same thing like with Moses. Because he had a ruach of wisdom on him, so that means Yahushua son of Nun had a little bit of skill on him. So that means he would have the skill to be able to execute these things that are mentioned. He said, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Listen what he said. Neglect not the gift that is in thee, which was given thee by prophecy, with the laying on of the hands of the presbytery.
Hey.
Now, that's not a Hebrew word, presbytery. We can see what it means in Greek. You see how he say he got that gift by the laying on of hands? Same way why Yahushua son of Nun got his charge of his gift by the laying on of hands. Now, presbytery is just literally means a body of elders, a senate or a council, or an elders of any body of the assembly. It says Christians, but of course we know it ain't no Christians right here. And would you consider Moses to be an elder? So you can sit back and you can see where you see the justification of that, with Yahushua son of Nun receiving his ruach on him after the laying on of hands of Moses, and even in where Eleazar the priest. You know what I'm talking about? And you see him having this charge. Now, and we can also see the example of that on with the symbol fight with John the Baptist and Yachanan the immerser laying his hands on Yahushua HaMashiach to immerse him. The same thing happened again. And then he gave him charge. Because John the Baptist was 6 months older than the master, so technically he would be his elder. You know what I'm talking about?
That's it.
Laid his hands on him, gave him the gift, and therefore he has charge to go do what he was going to do to bring the people, to lead the people in and bring them out, because John was a Levite. Just like Moses was a Levite. Just like Eleazar was a Levite. And we know the master said he will lead them out and he will bring them in. And he said that Moses would be to the people as he would be to Aaron as Elohim. We know Mashiach was as Elohim. Hello? Hello? Yeah. So, go ahead.
Did Samuel lay his hands on David?
He anointed David with oil. If I'm not mistaken. I think he poured some oil on David's head. Let's look and see. 1 Samuel 16.
I know he did that.
Let's look and see. Let's double check. Let's make sure. It ain't gonna hurt to make sure. What we got here? 16 and 12. And he sent and brought him in, 1 Samuel 16 and 12. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and with all of beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And Yahuwah said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. And Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Ruach of Yahuwah came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. Well, you can sit back and look at now. Samuel wasn't no Levite. But he definitely, but just like John the Baptist, when he immersed the master, he anointed him right there in the midst of his brethren. They seen it. And this is where they sat back, and you can see that a prophet like unto Moses, raised up in the midst of the brethren, goes out to do this. You know what I'm saying? Again, this is going back to what Deuteronomy 18, this man say, he will raise up a prophet like unto me according to what you desired in Horeb. This is what you asked for. You understand what I'm saying? So let's look at John 13 and 20. No, David wouldn't be like Aaron, because David wasn't. David was had been referred to as being said he was like a Malachim or Elohim, but he was never looked at to be as if he was Elohim himself, like Moses was given that authority, and like Noah or like Adam. John 13 and 20, if I get around. 19. Make it John 13. Yeah, I mean, they were prophets, but we talking about, he told Moses that he would be as Elohim, as referring to his dealings with Aaron. You know what I'm saying? They were definitely all prophets, though.
I mean to say apostle.
No. Abraham got caught by Melchizedek. Hello? Hello? Shalom, how you doing? Sit down somewhere. 13 to 19, John. Now I tell you before it comes, that when it has come to pass, you may believe that I am he. See, that's the whole key thing when you sit back and look at, when you sit back, that the law is not no problem. He said, I tell you stuff before it happens that you might believe that I am he. You know, he said the same thing through the mouth of Yeshayahu in the 46th chapter. He tell you the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. This man tells you this stuff before it even happens. So that when it happens, you know that he's spoken. And therefore you would believe on him and follow him. So he told you of his son before he even came. And all the son was coming back to do was confirming what it said. And this is going back to his statement in John. If you would believe Moses' writings, you would have believed my words because he wrote about me. Everything that we just looked at pertaining in Deuteronomy and in Numbers and in Exodus was written of Mashiach. And these people do not believe a single solitary word of it. You know what I'm saying? And we don't sit back and look at how those people did not believe Moses. 13 to 19 again. Now I tell you before it come, that when it has come to pass, you might believe that I am he. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that received whomsoever I said, received me. And he that received me, received him that sent me. So we have to sit back and look at that. Elohim sent Moses. Moses sent Yahushua. son of Nun. So if they would have received Yahushua, son of Nun, they would have received Moses. And if they would have received Moses, they would have received Elohim. You know what I'm saying? All because the people. Remember now, this man say this is being done according to what you desired in Horeb. You desired for a man to speak unto you. Like you're his sister, you're not his mother. You can't tell her that though. No, nothing to tell y'all ain't catch. She like this here. She gonna point this finger. Isaiah. I didn't know you carried no baby. But there's a reason for that. Because Malachi chapter 2 tell you that the priest's lips should keep knowledge and the people should seek the law at his mouth because he's the messenger of Yahuwah of hosts. So when these men say that, oh, the Ruach is my teacher, you going against the word. Let's look and see. John 14 and 26. Let's just look and see. Oh, we right there by it. Let's look and see. 14 and 25. Let's look and see. I got a whole lot of stuff to hit. Most High will not get it all. This is what he say. These things have I spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance whatsoever I said unto you. Shalom I leave you with you, my shalom I give unto you. Not as the world give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Now let's look at the 15th chapter in the 25th verse, and let's see what the master say here with the 26th verse. But when the comforters come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Ruach of truth which proceed from the Father, he shall testify of me. And ye also shall bear witness, because you have been with me from the beginning. And you know what's crazy? You know what's really, really crazy? Is that Ruach of truth that he put in Moses' mouth in Exodus chapter 4 was testifying of Yahushua then. Because he was testifying of Yahuwah, who was testifying of his son. He was doing it then. You know what I'm saying? He was doing it then, and they didn't believe it. So you shouldn't be shocked when the master came with it. And how did dudes say that the Ruach is their teacher, but yet they're not testifying of the son when he say that the Ruach would testify of him? That means you should be speaking about him. But I don't hear these niggas speaking about him, though. I hear these niggas talking about fringes and pork chops, man. That's what I hear these niggas talking about. I hear these niggas talking about Sabbath days, feast days. And that stuff is great. It's good. It's just. It's upright and Kadesh. I don't hear nothing about the master, though. But if the Ruach is your teacher, why you not telling me about him? Because I ain't getting no gain and no benefit and no profit what you tell me. It's a lady on my page, man. She go to assembly in Chicago, man. She been posting about this here. I guess because she must have had some bad experience. But she was like, she said these niggas in the truth ain't no different from the niggas in the world. These niggas in the truth won't monkey just like these niggas in the world do. She said they sit up and post scriptures all day long and live in sour. Now why would you think that be? Because you ain't heard nothing that would generate a heart of faith in you for you to continue walking in these laws. You done got these laws. You didn't feel like Jesus loves me because the Bible tells me so. I just say, Lord, forgive me, and I'm straight. But if you had an unwavering, undying faith in this man, there's no way in the world you would go around here sliding holes on the low. You ain't finna be doing none of that, man. It wouldn't even cross your mind. Because you would be so moving. See, look, I'm going to tell you this. Go to 2 Peter chapter 3. And then we'll look at Hebrews chapter 3 to complete my thought process that we looked at in Deuteronomy 18 and finish Deuteronomy 18 out and get to Deuteronomy chapter 6 out. It's all good because it's 9:18. We got time. Y'all with it. Don't nobody drop dead. Y'all forbid. Second Peter chapter 3, man, verse 12, right? 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 12, right? Listen what Peter said. Looking for the hastening unto the coming of the day of Elohim, wherein the Shamahim being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new Shamahim and a new Arath, wherein dwell righteousness. He said, those of us that are according to his promise, this is what we look for. So if you're looking for that promise and you're looking for the things that are contained in that promise, you're looking for a kingdom. See, look at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 14, before I read Hebrews chapter 3. Make it Hebrews 11, 13. I got to use this other book. That page kind of ate up. Praise the Lamb. Praise y'all. You know what I'm saying? Just thank y'all for the word.
I need to.
Verse 13, right? These all died in faith, not having received the promises. So, and when we sit back and we look at it, he say these all died in faith, not receiving the promises. I'm just going to mention the men and women who he's speaking of at this point as this writer of this epistle of the. So he's speaking about Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, and Sarah. This is who he's speaking of. Well, I mentioned Isaac and Jacob because he said he was dwelling in the house in a strange country with his sons. You know what I'm saying? But this is who he's speaking of. They didn't receive not one of these promises. Listen to what he said in verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they may have had an opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country. That is, one from Shamahim. Wherefore Elohim is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he hath prepared for them a city. Now you know what's crazy is, look at Hebrews chapter 3. And I'll just do it like that. Praise the Lamb that he worked it that way. Hallelujah for Yahushua that he worked it that way. Now let's look at something, right? 3 and 17. And we just going to slide it right into chapter 4. We're going to look at Hebrews 3 and 17 and just slide it right into chapter 4. Because when you sit back and look at it, right? Your ancestors were confessing in Mizraim and in Egypt that they were strangers and they were pilgrims and that wasn't their land. That's why they wanted to leave. And Elohim had prepared for them a better place. And he was bringing them into the wilderness to where they could see that place, but yet they hadn't got into it, that they might be persuaded of that promise of entering into that land. They were not persuaded of it. They didn't trust in it. And then we're going to look at what I mentioned earlier. Then we're going to go back and we're going to look at Numbers 13 before we get to Deuteronomy 18. And you're going to sit back and see how it wasn't laws that kept them out. It was their unbelief and their fear. That's what kept them out. You know what I'm saying? These are two things that must be eliminated from our hearts, eliminated from our mind. You know, I reposted, I sent it a couple because that thing was hilarious to me. That African nigga that was clowning about Donald Trump, but that nigga said something, and he had to pull it out the book. That nigga said, circumcise your thoughts. And you know that's in our law. Circumcise the foreskin of your heart. Circumcise your thoughts. We supposed to be uncircumcised our thoughts that where fear and unbelief don't enter in. Yeah, there could be some nervousness, there could be some trepidation, but fear and unbelief should not even enter in. You know what I'm saying? These are the things why we lack power with Elohim, because we fearful. That's why you say perfect love cast out fear. And we know fear had torment, because if you're fearful, you're not trusting. And if you trusting, you don't love this man. Which is, if you actually look at the key components of which spoken in John 5, that's where he was leading to when he said, I know the love of Elohim is not in you because you don't believe. You don't trust. You are fearful. See, the law don't produce that. And like I said, we're going to look at that to see where each time somebody got a promise, they got the promise before they got the instruction. So we're going to look at it and see that Abraham got the promise before he got the instruction. We're going to sit back and look at that Yasharal got the promise before they got the instruction. You sit back and look at with the master, you get the promise before you get the instruction. But a lot of dudes miss that. But with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? To whom sware he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believed not? So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. Verse 1 of the 4th chapter of the Epistle of Abarim. Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with the faith in them that heard it. See, it's a lot of people they want to sit back and look at. They don't get no gain from the word because they never believed it. How you going to get gain from something you don't believe? That's just like if you go to lifting weights or you go to any discipline program. Anything that requires discipline, you have to believe in what you're doing. in order to see some gain from it. Because you can't see the physique that you would get for lifting weights. You can't see that. So your hope is that the promise of this better physique through this program that you will receive it. If you run a business, you can't see the success of that business unless you follow the framework and pattern laid out. So your hope is in something that you cannot see. You cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. Like the master told you in Luke 17:20, they said they thought the kingdom of Elohim should come by observation. He said the kingdom of Elohim is not look here and look there. The kingdom of Elohim is inside you, which is taking you right back to Deuteronomy 30, which is the word of faith of which we preach. That nobody needs to go to Shamahim to snatch the word down for you to hear. Nobody needs to go into the earth and in the seas and the water to try to pull Mashiach out the grave to bring you the word to hear. The word is nigh to you, even in your heart, even in your mouth, that you should do it. See, that word of faith is greatly overlooked in the earth, and that's why men have no power. Now, if we seek to have power, then we'd have to be able to tap into that power. You must believe. Like I say, a lot of brothers ask, why ain't nobody raising nobody from the dead? Why they ain't healing the lame? Why the sick ain't all? Because people don't actually believe that Elohim is capable of doing it. You're not even believing on this man enough to receive the Ruach that you can be quickened to life everlasting, and you think he's going to give you power to raise the dead, to heal the sick, to open the eyes of the blind, to speak in tongues, to interpret tongues. The faith of this people is minuscule. You know what I'm saying? It's minuscule. And the reason being is because men are not teaching it. They got you so focused on the law, you're missing the whole point. And like I told the brother today when I'm talking to them, before you talking about, so you saying not to keep the commandments. And I'm thinking to myself, you doing the same thing to Paul. And then Paul, ain't nobody said nothing about not keeping no commandments, bro. That's not our focus. That's not the number one focus. See, after a while, you deal with the commandments, you show the commandments, you know what I'm saying? But after that, you got to move on to bigger and greater things. Because the commandments are simple. They're simple. If we wanted to, we could go through all the commandments in a 2-day period and be done with them. And you wouldn't exactly know what to do and what not to do as far as it pertains to those ordinances. They're not difficult. They don't take long. Most of them you can't even do because most of them don't even pertain to you. Most of the book of Leviticus don't even pertain to the people. In my rough estimation, I want to say 65 to 75% of it don't even pertain to the people. Ain't got nothing to do with you. That was strictly for the Levites. They ain't got nothing to do with the people. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. When you look at a lot of Exodus is the stories and the history of your ancestors. Same thing a lot of what Numbers is. Same thing what a lot of Deuteronomy is. Same thing with Genesis. All that stuff is not necessarily contained with the do's and don'ts. But it's contained of behaviors and a pattern of behavior that some of them you should follow and some of them that you should not follow. Now let's look at Numbers chapter 13, verse 17. I know I mentioned Romans 9 earlier. Y'all willing we get to it. But praise the Lamb for the word, though. What I need? I say 13, 17? Yeah, we'll use 13, 17. Numbers 13 and 17. And after we look at Numbers 13 and 17, Revelation 21 and 7. And Moses sent them out to spy out the land of Canaan. And he said unto them, get you up this way southward and go up into the mountain and see the land what it is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many. And what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds. And what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not, be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as men come to Hamath. And they ascended by the south and came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishah, and Talamai, and the children of Anak were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan and Mishraim. And they came unto the brook of Ishal, and cut down from thence a branch, and with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff. And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. The place of the brook was called Ishal, because of the cluster of grapes with the children of Yasharal cut down from thence. And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of Yasharal into the wilderness of Paran to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came unto the land whither thou sent us, and surely it flow with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we shall be able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Yasharal, saying, the land, though which we have gone to search it, is a land that eat up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. Now notice that they brought an evil report on the kingdom of Shamaim for all intents and purposes. They brought an evil report on this place. They said we won't be able to possess it. They were fearful and they didn't believe that this man would be able to defend them. Let's continue on and look at some more things of what this man stated, right? So you don't have to necessarily read all this here, but we're going to swing over here to verse 27 in Numbers 14. But in Numbers 14, they begin to murmur. And they begin to say that he brought us here to die. And that we don't want this land. And that we want to go back to where we came from. See, if they had been mindful of the place that they had left from, they wouldn't even dare have opened their mouth and said that. Because they would have realized that they desired a city and a better place where Elohim would be called Elohim. And he wouldn't be ashamed to call us his people. But it was numerous times where he wanted to take us out. Because he said, this is a stiff-necked people. This is a rebellious people since the moment that I've known them. They don't believe in me. They don't set their trust in me. Can you sit back and you can look at it, right? And I mentioned it before we started, but let's just sit back and look at all these things that they saw. They saw it go dark in Mizraim and they had light in their dwellings. They saw locusts and flies and all these things eat up all of the Egyptians' crops, but not theirs. They saw hailstones fall on the Egyptians, but not on them. They saw the firstborn of the Egyptians die, but not theirs. They saw the Egyptians' army swallowed up by the Red Sea, but they passed through safely. They were fed manna from Shamaim. They hadn't got the water out the rock yet. They hadn't went to war with Amalek and defeated him. You know what I'm saying? All of these things that they saw. And yet they still did not trust and believe in it. They actually went in the land and seen this guy good fruit. And everything that he said is in this place is there. But we can't get in there, man. It's better for us to go back to Egypt. Notice there was no violation from eating no shrimps and lobsters here. There was no violation of not keeping Shabbat or feast days here. There was no violation of wearing mixed garments or sleeping with somebody's wife or coveting or any of that. Any of that. None of that is present at this time. None of that is what they did. But what they did is they did not believe. So in their unbelief, it got them excluded. Let's see. 27, 14, 26 and 14. Make it 23. Matter of fact, make it 21. But as truly as I live, all their wrath shall be filled with the esteem of Yahuwah. Because all those men which have seen my esteem and my miracles, which I did in Mizraim and in the wilderness, have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another Ruach with him and have followed me fully, him will I bring into the land wherein he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, how long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Yasharal, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, as truly as I live, this man swearing now, saith Yahuwah, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me, doubtless you shall not come into the land concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, saith Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Yahushua the son of Nun. This man swore in their name, you're not getting in here. All because they did not believe. That's it. That's what got all these people excluded. He said, you seen my miracles, you seen my works, you didn't hearken to my voice, you didn't believe nothing that I said to you. Revelation 21:7. So this make Revelation 21:7 stand out just a tad bit harder. And why you see that these are the first things that are mentioned or what's going to get you blocked up out of here. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. Reason why I read that, because Caleb said, man, be a good courage. We can overcome him and take it. Because he believed the word, he believed that he could overcome these men of great stature and take this place. Because he believed in Elohim, so he knew that he could overcome anything. Same way the master say, be a good cheer, I overcame the world. Why? Because he trusted in his Elohim. He knew he could overcome and triumph over anything as long as his hope was in Elohim. We have to sit back and realize that same thing. We can overcome and triumph anything if we walk like Caleb walked. Because I'm going to reread you what Caleb said to these people. We just read it. I'm going to reread it to you now. You ain't got to go get it. I'm going to reread it to you. In Numbers 13, about verse 30, my apologies. It said, Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are able to overcome it. Why would he have such this confidence to say, let's go right now? Because he trusted in his Elohim that I can overcome anything. The book tells you in Romans chapter 8, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. It's easy for us to overcome anything through the man who loved us. It's nothing. That's how Caleb looked at it. That's why he said he got a different ruach with him. He had the ruach of faith in him. You know what I'm saying? See, the law can't give you that type of heart. Can't give you that type of ruach. Can't give you that. It can't. It never was intended to give you that. It was instructions. It was an instruction. Instructions that every man, woman, and child under Shamahim should keep. But it can't give you that heart where you sit back and say, oh yeah, we can take that. Let's get it. Because no law came into play in what we looking at in Numbers 13 and Numbers 14. That's what we need to understand. No law came into play which got these people excluded. Because he say, who did them that fell in the wilderness but those who sinned? And he say they sinned because they didn't believe. To not believe in Yahuwah is the greatest sin that a man could commit. You know, the book say the fool has said it in his heart, there is no Elohim. Well, if we don't believe, we're saying in our heart there is no Elohim because we're saying he is not able to do this. He is not capable to do this. Those people sat back and told him, oh man, we can't take that land. The people greater than us. It's better for us to go back to Mizraim. They showed themselves to be fools as they said in their heart, there is no Elohim. He brought us out here to die. This man ain't got no power to do nothing. He doesn't exist. This is what we're communicating to him when we have a heart of unbelief. This is what we're communicating. We need not to communicate these things. You know, Peter, we read what Peter said. We, according to his promise, look for a new heaven and a new earth. See, Caleb then was looking according to the promise to receive that land. Because, you know, in Jerusalem, we looked at this last week, if I'm not mistaken, where Jerusalem would be where that new Shamahim and new Arats would be at, or where we would be dwelling at. Where you see that Caleb and Yahushua son of Nun were looking to dwell in this land, a city from Shamahim, a forerunner to come into New Jerusalem, because we are those that are dwell according to the promise. See, they were moving according to the promise. That's what they were looking to. Therefore, it was nothing for them to follow wholly after him. Do you understand? Y'all understand what I'm saying? See, it was the faith they had in Elohim is what caused them to keep going. That's what caused them to keep going. We got to have that same thing in our heart. Got to. Got to. Got to. That's what set them apart from everybody else. That's what set Caleb and Yahushua son of Nun apart from everybody else. It was their faith. They had the ruach of faith in them. That's what set them apart from everybody else. That's what's got to set us apart from everybody else. Revelation 21:8. But the fearful. Hold on, y'all. What's going on, brother? How you been?
Doing good.
All right, I'm finna merge on this now, bro.
Yeah, I had a little infection in my mouth. Was that?
Okay. Well, praise y'all. You got past that That brother DC. That brother DC. Everybody. That's a brother down there in Lauderdale.
I'm back West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. That's I say. I know. I don't like that. That's a different. 21:8. Revelation. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burn with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. See, those fearful and unbelieving, they didn't get in the land. So if you're fearful and unbelieving, you're not going to get in the land. You're not going to get in the land. You're not going to inherit New Jerusalem. You're not going to inherit the kingdom. So we have to sit back and we have to understand that fearfulness, it has to be removed. That unbelief, it has to be removed. This is what precluded your ancestors from getting in, and this is what's going to preclude us from getting in if we walk in the pathway. Now, we went all through all that there because the people heard the word from Elohim, and they said, we don't want to hear the word from Elohim no more. We want to hear, let Moses talk to us. Because a friend, what we were looking at is that the desire of your ancestors was for a man to teach them the word. So a man has to be the one to teach them the word. And a lot of brothers say, the Ruach is my teacher. I don't need no man to teach me. But the books say different. Like I say, we mentioned Jeremiah 3:15. It say, I give you pastors according to my heart that'll feed you with knowledge and understanding. Did man say, how can you believe on him whom you have not heard? And how can you hear without a preacher? And how can they preach except they be sent? You know what I'm talking about? So you seeing the same thing. You see the master walking as Elohim, and then he laid his hands on certain men. He set charge over them to go teach the people. And then he gave them authority to ordain people so they could go teach the people. Nowhere. I beg anyone to go in this word and show me any man who taught himself the word that was not either taught by Elohim or taught by man. I challenge anyone to go in the book and show me that. Well, there's a man who taught himself. Because that's going against the law. Because he said, I'm going to do this according to your desire. Your desire was to have a man teach you this. That's what your desire was. He told you, I will work a work in your days, but you will know why I believe, even though a man told it to you. He said, not if the Ruach told it to you. He said, even though a man told it to you. Let's look and see where he said that at. Let's look at Habakkuk chapter 1. Let's just look and see where he told it at. It's quoted in Acts chapter 13 where Paul stood up there. He said, behold, you despisers. You know what I'm saying? And wonder. Let's just sit back and look at the prophecy where he told it. He didn't say if the Ruach told it to you. He said a man going to tell it to you. So when they say these things that the Ruach is their teacher, they telling a bold-faced lie. Because that's not what that man ordained. That man did not ordain everybody to be running around here and say, you're an apostle, here's an apostle, everybody's an apostle. 1 and 4. 1 and 5. We get straight to the point. Habakkuk 1 and 5. Straight to the point. Look what he said. Behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously. I will work a work in your days which you will not believe, though it be told you. So when we sit back and we look at John chapter 20, and he say, Baruch to your eyes and your ears, because, let's just get it. John 20 and 27. See, the apostles, I got to use the other book. See, the apostles, they saw the man. They heard the man. We ain't seen and heard nothing. 1 Peter chapter 1 right behind that. Probably about verse 10. I got to get to Deuteronomy 6. I've been on this particular matter for about 24 minutes. I think that's about long enough. John 20 and 27. Make it 29 actually. Yahushua saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. But Baruch are they that have not seen, yet have believed. And many other signs truly did Yahushua in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you might believe that Yahushua is the Mashiach, the son of Elohim, and that believing you might have life through his name. So the belief, the light, the eternal life come through your faith in this man. Your eternal life don't come through your keeping of the law. That's not where it comes from. That's why our brothers stumble at. And if in order for you to believe on his name, somebody got to tell it to you. Because that's what you asked for in the law. That's what you asked for. Hold on. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 10. actually about verse 8 or 7. The trial of your faith being more precious than of gold that perish, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and esteem at the appearing of Yahushua HaMashiach, whom having not seen ye love, and whom though now you see him not, yet believing, you rejoice with joy unspeakable, full of esteem, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your soul. That man say, you ain't seen this man, but you love him. Now see, he said, if you love me, keep my commandments, and he'll give you the Ruach of truth. That's exactly what he said. And what was his commandment? That you believe on him whom Elohim has sent. That's what he said in John chapter 6, about verse 27. What is the work of Elohim but believe on him whom he has sent? The Apostle John told you the same thing in his epistle letter in the 3rd chapter. That the commandment of Elohim is that we should believe on the name of his son and love one another. Which is going right back to what the crux of Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 is when he said, "Hear, O Yasharah, Yahuwah your Elohim is one, and you should love him with your whole heart and with your whole soul and with your whole mind." That's to believe on him. That's the greatest commandment. That was his initial instruction, was for you to believe, to trust in me, to lay all your hope, burdens, and problems with me, knowing that I can help you overcome and push down anything through me. That is the greatest commandment. The greatest commandment is faith, and that is the commandment that majority of the world violates. And that's the same reason why he say they fell in the wilderness who sinned. That was their transgression. They didn't believe. So when you sit back and you look at the construct of all our people throughout the 4 corners of earth that profess this word, we see that many of them sin every day. And they look at, they not breaking these commandments that are of the flesh, of not eating swine. And not, because you talking about, because when we look at these laws, they are really things to keep your flesh into subjection. See, but faith is of the heart though. See, not eating pork, that's not of the heart though. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you. Like we told you to circumcise your heart. That's got to deal with you believing on your Elohim. That's got to deal with something inside. That's why the master told you it's not that go within you that defile you. Because, yeah, we know it defile you eating them swine. He said it's in your heart make you dirty, though. See, all them thoughts and all that stuff you got going on in there. See, that stuff don't allow the word to take root and bear no fruit. That's why he gave you that parable of the sower. Yeah, that seed by the wayside. See, that the cares and affairs of this life and the deceitfulness of riches. See, that stuff choke off the word. You can't bear no fruit. You don't really believe this stuff because you're concerned with all this stuff over here. Or you get offended because of persecution and tribulation arrive because of the word. See, you ain't really see. That's why you drift off. Go do this over here. That's why you can see people get lackadaisical with keeping the man commandment, because you ain't never really believed no way. So you ain't really had nothing to keep you on track and keep on moving. Because you ain't really looking towards the promise and moving towards the promise. Therefore, the things that this man tell you to do, it's nothing to you. Because your mind and heart is so focused on the promise, these instructions are lightweight. They're lightweight. That's why he told you, he said, my burden is easy and my yoke is light. This stuff lightweight. He told you to learn of him. He didn't tell you come learn of the law. That ain't what he told you in Matthew chapter 11. Come learn of the law. You niggas already know that. Come learn about me though. He didn't say when he come back on the earth where he see people keeping the law. He said, will I find faith on the earth? That's what he said. That's what he said in Luke 18. Will I find faith on the earth? Do you people actually believe what I'm talking about? Will you actually be looking to that promise and did everything that you did? Like Paul said, I fought the good fight of faith. I endured all the way to the end. Crown laid up for me. How many people are actually fighting that good fight of faith? Like when Paul say there's nothing that separates us from the love of Mashiach. That man say persecution, tribulation, peril, all that type of stuff. That stuff ain't talking about causing you not to keep no commandment. That stuff talking about holding on to the faith. I ain't got no clothes. I can go over here and do this right here. Well, I'm going to trust in Yahuwah and just wait on him. I got a little trouble. That stuff ain't got nothing to do with no commandments. That stuff got to do with about your heart of faith. Look at 2 Chronicles chapter 30, man, real fast. This verse always stood out to me from the time that I heard it. Well, the time that I read it, my apologies, because I ain't never really heard it. Never really hear too many people read it. Ain't nothing against nobody. I'm sorry, it should be 1 Chronicles 30. I'm just saying I ain't just heard too many people read it. No, it ain't no 1 Chronicles 30. I'm tripping. No, I can't remember what it was at. That's bad for business. I know what it say, can't remember where it's at. That's how you know you're getting old. Man, look at man, these too many notifications for my text. That is not where that's at. Give me a second, man. I don't want to say what it is, because I said it to you before, but I want you to see it. Maybe somebody might even mark it, so they can refer back to it, because it is imperative. Oh, I'm sorry, I was all off. Chapter 16, verse 9. I wasn't nowhere close to that. I don't know where 30 come from. $16 and 9. 1 Chronicles 16 and 9. I don't know where 30 came from. Or 2 Chronicles 16 and 9. What's that? 2 Chronicles 16 and 9. Matter of fact, make it 7. Make it verse 5 though. It came to pass when Baasha heard it, he left off building of Ramah and let his work cease. Then Asa the king took all Yehuda, and they carried away the stones of Ramah and the timber thereof, wherewith Baasha was a building, and he built thereof Gibeah and Mizpah. And at that time Hananiah the seer came to Asa king of Yehuda, and said unto him, because thou hast relied on the king of Syria, and not relied on Yehuda thy Elohim, therefore is the host of the king of Syria escaped out of thy hand. Were not the Ethiopians and the Lubians a huge host, with many chariots and horsemen? Yet because thou did rely on Yahuwah, he delivered them into thine hand. For the eyes of Yahuwah run to and fro throughout the whole Iraq, to show himself strong in behalf of them whose heart is perfect towards him. Herein thou hast done foolishly, therefore from henceforth thou shalt have wars. Then Asa was wroth with the seer and put him in the prison house, for he was enraged with him because of this thing. And Asa oppressed some of the people the same time. And behold, the acts of Asa, the first and the last, lo, they are written in the book of the Malik of Yehuda and Yasharal. Now notice, right, what got Asa in trouble? Was it not keeping the Sabbath? Was it not keeping feasts? Was it not eating the wrong foods? It's because he didn't rely on Yahuwah, he relied on a man. See, he put his trust in a man. We know the book say, cursed be he that trusteth in man, who make arm his flesh. And I go back to what Paul tell you in Philippians, that their Elohim is their belly, they mind earthly things. See, a lot of people, they trust ain't in they don't rely on Yahuwah. You know what I mentioned this to y'all before. When tough situations come, who do you rely on? When trouble come in, who do you rely on? And then if you rely on him, will you wait for him? Or do you feel like he should move on your time? Or do you feel like he should give you what you think he ought to give? And if he doesn't, are you offended? Because he say his eyes run to and fro throughout this whole earth to show himself strong towards those whose heart is perfect towards him. We just talked about what last week? About how Amaziah did those things that was right, but his heart wasn't perfect because Amaziah didn't believe. So you notice that it says Yahuwah's eyes are looking for those whose heart is perfect. Those who have a complete, perfect heart of faith. That's who he said, that's what he's looking for. That's what he's looking for. And he said he'll show himself strong on their behalf. So then we turn around and look at, a lot of people say, well, why y'all ain't did this for me? Because you ain't believe in him. And you know what's crazy? It's for a lot of people, because he did it for your ancestors in the wilderness. He showed himself strong on your behalf even when you don't believe. So that when he get tired of you, you ain't going to have no excuse, because he would have already gave you ample opportunity and reasons why you ought to have put your trust in him. You know what I'm saying? We can see in this book too many times that was the violation. What got King Hezekiah in trouble? Because he said, ain't there Elohim and Yasharal you could have inquired of? It's because of the people unbelief. That's what got them in trouble all the time. Yeah, we broke the commandments without question. But when you look at a lot of the examples, see, look at Romans 15 and 4. I'm going to just read this right here. Romans 15 and 4. Romans 15 and 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Now the Elohim of patience and consolation grant you to be like-minded one towards another, according to Yahushua HaMashiach, that ye may with one mind and one mouth esteem Elohim, even the Abba of our master, Yahushua HaMashiach. You know, this stuff was written aforetime that you might learn how. See, Asa didn't want to wait on Elohim. So you're supposed to learn what will happen to you if you rely on yourself or you rely on man instead of Elohim. Let me tell you something, right? That's why he say be like-minded. It just popped in my head because of this situation. When you look at Abigail and David, the Most High went ahead and murked Nabal because Nabal was not a man of faith. And you can see by Abigail's actions that Abigail was a woman of faith, and he joined her to a man who was a man of faith. And then you turn around and you look at Yasharal, when we look at how he said he'll purge out the rebels, and how Mashiach is coming to be married unto a wife, because she need to be a wise woman, a discreet woman, a woman without spot, wrinkle, or blemish, because she'd have been made new, because he said he's going to present you a chaste virgin to your husband. He said you've been espoused to one husband. You know what I'm saying? That he'll do the same framework, because you were joined to an evil husband. You were joined to death. You were joined to Hashatan. You were joined to this world, and the Son came through to sever you from that. You know what I'm saying? And when you sit back and look at it, she talked David out of relying on himself to take vengeance on himself and let Elohim do it. The same way how the master told Peter, I can call for 12 legions of angels to take these people out, but I'm going to rely on my Elohim so the scriptures might be fulfilled, because I know he's going to do what he said he's going to do. So he took a woman of faith joined to a man of faith, meaning those who are born anew out of Yasharal are joined to Mashiach. See, people who are of strong faith tend to gravitate towards one another. People who are of weak faith tends to gravitate towards one another, because people of strong faith tend to intimidate people of weak faith. This is why these people hated the master without a cause and wanted to kill him. You know what I'm saying? This is why they wanted to put people out the synagogue who believed on him. Because inherently, these people knew that their faith was not on par with these other people. Therefore, they were intimidated by it, and they did not want them in their presence. You know what I'm telling you? They like this here, right? Because somebody said something to me along these lines the other day. Strong people intimidate weak people. And when I'm talking about strength, I'm not always necessarily talking about the physical brute strength or the ability to lay harm on someone. You know what I'm saying? You have people who are strong mentally, or strong in their confidence in themselves, or strong spiritually, or strong in a particular area or expertise or sport, or whatever the case may be. People who are weaker tend to be intimidated by them. And therefore they tend to do things to either make these people look bad, or they shun them altogether. You know what I'm saying? If you just sit back and you just look at life and you just look at some of the things that you've done seen in your lifetime, you may be one of those people who are strong like that in certain areas. You may not be. You know what I'm saying? Don't mean that you can't be. Because strength is just like, strength spiritually ain't no different than lifting weights. Anybody who ever started lifting weights, they were weak in the beginning. But through repetition, they got stronger. Over a period of time, they got stronger. You know what I'm saying? It's no different with your faith. Your faith can be increased and it can be made stronger. That's why you sit down and hear the word 3 times a week. That's what the word is supposed to do, is to make you stronger. Therefore, your faith get increased when the word of faith is preached unto you. You know what I'm saying? But you might just sit back and look at your life of people where you've seen, just think of an example to yourself, well, you know what, I seen that. Or you might think to yourself, I was that person. Because people were intimidated by me. You know what I'm saying? So you have to look at that, because strength is intimidating to people. That's why a lot of dudes want muscles, because they want people to be intimidated by them. Because if they see me with these big old muscles, you know what I'm saying, nobody gonna mess with me. I think about my homeboy when he kept saying that before I went to prison. Man, you ain't gonna be working out, man. You're gonna be doing. I'm like, for what? I'm not worried about anybody messing with me, because I'm secure within myself. I'm strong and confident who I am as a man, that I don't feel the need to that I have to have a muscular stature for people to leave me alone. I built my body because that's something that I enjoy to do. Something that I like to do. You know what I'm saying? It's not to impress women. It's not to intimidate men. It's just something that I like to do. Some people, that's why they lift weights. It's to attract women. Hey, teach their own. Some people do it to intimidate people, or so they feel like they can be stronger to defend themselves. You know, to each their own. I ain't gonna knock you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't mad at you at all. You know what I'm saying? But people are intimidated by that. You know, one of the biggest things is people say, you know, black man don't want no strong black women, because some black men, they are intimidated by a strong woman. I ain't talking about no masculine woman who wants to dominate a man and run a man. You talking about a woman of strength, a woman of character. Most men are intimidated by that. They would rather have something easy because they feel like they can control that. You know what I'm saying? It's just the reality of the situation. You know what I'm saying? If you're not a strong-willed, strong-minded individual, you're not going to want to be with a strong-willed, strong-minded individual. That's going to be intimidating to you. And you're only going to do one of two things. You're going to try to get this person to become like you. You're going to try to chip away at their strength. You're going to try to do anything possible to make this person weak. That's what Delilah did with Samson. Let me do something to make him weak because he's so strong. I got to find a way to make him weak. I got to try to find a way to make him like me so I can take him down. Because that's the objective. If you're strong-minded and you're strong-willed and people are moving to try to do certain things to get you to not be like that, they're trying to destroy you. Period. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Once I can get you to lose your strength, it's easy pickings for me to pick you apart from them. Y'all forbid you allow the adversary or any of his minions to do you that way. And when I say minions, I'm talking about people who are flesh and blood. I ain't talking about no demons, no devils, no evil spirits, no none of that. I'm talking about human beings. People. Carnal, fleshly people. Deuteronomy chapter 18. You know, it's like I said, that's what people used to say, man, people fear what they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Deuteronomy 18 and 16. And according to all that thou desired of Yahuwah Elohim and Horab in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire any more that I die not. And Yahuwah have said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. He said, you spoke well to let a man preach to you versus me. Now I was going to pull these other verses, but I ain't going to get them. I'm going to tell it to you. Y'all know what Romans 10 say. How can you believe without a preacher? How can you believe except they be sent? And he's saying he gave gifts unto men. And he gave some apostles, some prophets, some pastors, some evangelists, some teachers for the edifying of the body. So the master is showing you, because he said whosoever I send receive me. Showing the same thing that happened with Aaron and Moses. And Aaron and Moses and Yahushua son of Nun. If you receive Yahushua son of Nun, you're receiving Moses. And if you're receiving Moses, you're receiving Elohim. You understand what I'm saying? So he said back, looking at if you receive these apostles, if you receive these prophets, if you receive these pastors, if you receive these evangelists, if you receive these teachers, then you're not receiving them, you're receiving Yahushua. And if you're receiving Yahushua, then you're receiving Elohim. And if you're receiving Elohim, you're going to receive eternal life because you believed on the words that I put in these men's mouths. Because these men would be testifying of the Son of living Elohim. Because that's all you got to do. Next time y'all run across somebody who say the Ruach is their teacher, they ask them, well, testify the Son to me, sir. Because that's what the Ruach ought to be doing for you. It should be telling you about the Son. Sir, can you pull the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts chapter 8? Sir, does this man speak of himself or some other man? Straight up and down. Straight like that. I did a dude like that. He kept saying that there. I say, sir, tell me what this means, sir. I have no idea what this means. Can you tell me what this means? Because I am desirous to know. I'm stumped at this present time. That nigga did not say anything. Because remember what John told you. He said, try the spirits whether they be an Elohim or not. There be many false prophets go out in the world. So this man telling you the Ruach is his teacher. That man said the living Elohim dwell in him. You supposed to try that man. And if he an Elohim, he wouldn't even be offended by it. I remember a lady said that to me in the street. She kept asking me, son, she was like, you know, I got to try. I said, yeah, I know. I ain't mad at you. You just doing what the book say. I'm going to be mad at you. I know why you asking me these questions that you asking me. I'm not offended by it. She said, I had to make sure you was Elohim or not. I said, I feel you. I ain't mad at you. Did what you supposed to do. This was like, what, 2013? Not even 2013. It's like 2011. You know what I'm saying? Do we really sometimes try these people to see if they be an Elohim or not? Or we just riding with it because they say they're bro? 18 and 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. Now we looked at on Wednesday how he told his apostles to go among all the nations to teach them let's just look at it, Matthew 28. Because then I'm going to sit back and show you the same token where we were talking about teach this to your sons and your sons' sons and all this here. Now just look at this right here, right? And then we go swing right to Acts chapter 14 and just show you how idiotic people can be. Now let's just look at Matthew 28 and 18. Keep it real brief. Well, 28 and 19. Look what he said. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, immersing them in the name of the Abba and of the Ben and of the Ruach HaKodesh, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. I mean. So he said, teach them everything that I taught you. This is what you do. Now come over here to Acts chapter 14. Say, everything I told you, I instructed you to do, you go teach that to the people. That's what he told them, right? Now let's look and see what these men did. Let's just see what these men did now. Because obviously the apostles can't go around and teach the whole world. It's only 13 of them that you know that's mentioned by name. It's only 13 of them. They can't go around here and teach the whole world. Acts chapter 14. Probably about verse 18. And with these sayings scarce restrained they the people, that they had not done sacrifice unto them. And there came thither certain Yahudim from Antioch and Iconium, who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead. Howbeit, as the disciples stood round about him, he rose up and came into the city, and the next day he departed with Barnabas to Derbe. And when they had preached the gospel to that city, and taught many, they returned again to Lystra, and to Iconium, and to Antioch, confirming the souls of the disciples, and exhorting them to continue in the faith, that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Elohim. And when they had ordained them elders in every synagogue, and prayed with fasting, they commended them to the master on whom they believed. So you see how he said they went around and taught these men, and then appointed men to go teach the people. See, look at 1 Timothy chapter 3, and say he ordained them elders. So then we got to sit back and see what these elders would do. So he said they appointed them to be elders to go teach the people. So we look at 1 Timothy chapter 3. And look at verse 1. This is a true saying, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desire good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, diligent, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, nor striker, nor greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that rule well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the house of Elohim? Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. You know, and that's what ends up happening. He say, not a novice, not a rookie. I mean, you ain't new to the word. He say, lifted. See, that's what happens with a lot of brothers that they had that pride. They fall into the condemnation of the devil. So what got the devil condemned it was his pride, was his ego, was his desire to be the man. That's what a lot of Israelites' problem is. They want to be the man. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to play their role. And that's niggas' problem. You know what I'm saying? All you have to do is just play your role. If your role is a bishop, then play it. If your role is to open the doors of the house of Elohim, then open them. Because David said, I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my Elohim than dwell in the tents of wickedness. So if your job is to open the door to be the best doorkeeper that ever existed, play your role. If your role is to sing, then sing. You know what I'm saying? When the congregation is brought together, everybody. If your role is to minister unto the poor, then minister unto the poor then. If your role is to speak words of wisdom, then let wisdom flow out your mouth then. But play your role. See, nobody don't want to play their role. See, they want to play your role, his role, that person role, that person role. That's why niggas be all messed up in the game. Everybody's got to play their role. When you play the role, you have a cohesive unit, a finely oiled machine that executes flawlessly. Titus chapter 1. Titus chapter 1, man, about verse 7. Just going back to this here, man. Somebody had to teach this stuff. This is what the book say. He said that's what you desired. And it said Yahuwah said y'all well spoke. So Yahuwah said y'all said right. Y'all said right for that. You said the right thing out your mouth. He said, for a bishop must be blameless as the steward of Elohim, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre. But a love of hospitality, a love of good men, sober, just, kadesh, temperate. You know, it's a lot of dudes amongst our people that say they elders and whatnot, and they don't love good men. They love some of the most vile, base, wicked bastards that you could ever come across. You know what I'm saying? And make excuses for these niggas too. He said, holding fast the faithful word as he have been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayer. See, key thing is, he said that this person ought to hold the word as he had been taught. Somebody had to teach it to him. That's the law. We can see that in Chronicles, where the king sent priests out to go teach all the people. What would there have been need for Levite priests if the people were sitting at the house teaching themselves? When it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 30, where Hezekiah said the Levites that taught me, that's why the 2 Chronicles chapter 30 came in my head. Come on, 2 Chronicles chapter 30. That's why it came. Pray the Lamb. Hallelujah for Yahushua. That's why that came in my head like that. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. Let me make sure I got the right verse is. Yes, and I always forget that exact verse. It's right there though. Give me a second to locate it. I'm looking right at it too. I know I'm looking right at it too. Just don't want to say it. We want to read it off the page. God, I hate Lamb. It's going to stay, and we're going to sit back and look at this here in the Chronicles, man, as soon as my eyes allow me to find what I'm looking for. Well, it said the Levites taught the people, which would line up right along with which will line right on up and with what he said in Malachi chapter 2. When he was referring to how to there it is. I know I'm looking right at it. Verse 22, what we want in chapter 3. I know I'm looking right at it. Say, Hezekiah spake comfortably unto all the Levites that taught the good knowledge of Yahuwah. And they did eat throughout the feast 7 days, offering shalom offerings and making confession to Yahuwah Elohim with their father. So he say it was the Levites, it's the priests that taught the good knowledge. We read in the Malachi chapter 2, it say the priest's lips should keep knowledge and the people should seek the law at his mouth. So that means that you have to get that from them. And then they the ones who manifest the man whom you believe on. Because he say by this man's blood you made kings and priests. So the priests got the law in their mouth. Therefore they preaching the law of Moses. They preaching the law of Moses because the law of Moses is testifying to Yahushua. And if you believe Moses' writings, then you're going to believe the words that are testifying to Yahushua, like he said in John chapter 5. But the problem is our people don't believe the words. Therefore they can't see him. Therefore they don't get the eternal life which is encapsulated in his name. Because brothers thinking eternal life, dude told me the law is the promise. I say, boy, you in a bad spot. You in a bad spot. Deuteronomy chapter 6, though, in a bad spot. If we think the law is the promise, we in a bad spot. Real bad spot. You hear me? I'm talking about real bad. Real bad. Real bad. I don't have time to run it down today. Maybe y'all willing tonight, I should say. Y'all willing, I'll probably do it on tomorrow after we'll do whatever it is that he gonna hit. To sit back and show you how the promises come before the law. The promises come before the instruction. Even before, and you sit back and you look at it, the Most High prepared all this stuff for Adam. And then he gave him the instruction on, don't do this right here. I done prepared the promise for you. Now I give you the instruction. It's already there for you. No, he was running that down before he even formed the man. He formed the man, set him in the midst of it. I got all this stuff for you. Just don't do this right here, man. And you good. You sit back and you look at that. The promise always comes before the instruction. Because before I give you the instruction, I need to know if you believe on me. Because if you don't believe on me, this instruction ain't even going to do you no good. You're just going to fail. You're going to bump your head. This is why Paul stated, we don't seek to be justified by the law. We seek to be justified by Mashiach. If justification come by the law, then I frustrate favor, and Mashiach done died for nothing. That was a worthless death. And if we get back and say we the sons of Yasharal and we Abarim, then we ought to know that. because we ought to know our ancestors and our forefathers and what they did and what they didn't do. Because all this stuff is for our learning. That's why we go back and look at these men to see how they manifested hearts of faith or how they did not manifest hearts of faith. Or we look at their behavior and the things that they did or that they didn't do. Then we can be able to get an understanding on how we should operate to see faith in action or faith not in action. Disobedience in action or obedience in action. Trust in action or fear in action. And that we wouldn't develop the negative things that I just mentioned in our heart, but that we would develop those positive things that would bring forth the fruits of eternal life, that we can receive some of that stuff when we were talking about those blessings a couple weeks ago. That we can receive those things because of our hope and our belief. Dude told me Deuteronomy 28, see, that's a promise. No, ain't no, you can look at it as a promise here, this is what I'm going to do to you. Whether it be good or whether it be evil. But then they ain't even looking at the promise of eternal life through Mashiach and the removing of death and all of these things from you is contained in that. But you just looking at blessings and cursings on the natural level. There comes a time period, and I know all y'all ain't at that point. And I know sometimes for some people that knew the stuff we talking about is heavy, and they like, I don't know what's going on, and this, that, and the third. I understand that. And like I said before, I'm gonna make sure I clean it up like here, because we'll say don't say it like this here when we was out there talking to Quan about this here, right? We have 3 locations. 3 locations open for business. 3 trap houses open for business. You got Jesus for True Freedom open for business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You got the Dwayne Bonton China open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You got the Assembly of the Firstborn China open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Dope flying up out of there anytime. You can come cop any day of the week, anytime you want. Somebody gonna be there to serve. Matter of fact, it's self-serve at that. You ain't even got to wait for nobody to give you nothing. You could just walk up and get it yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can walk up and get it yourself. To where there's things that may not be as confusing or difficult, knowing that you coming in at a different point. You coming in where we steady by the favor of the Most High, steady growing and maturing and get different information and different perspectives on way of looking at things. You know what I'm saying? And I know that can be overwhelming. You know what I'm talking about? But there's things that are not that intense, so to speak. You know what I'm talking about? Where they would not be as overwhelmed. But then at the same token, you know what I'm saying? It's known that, but you can holler at me though. And sometimes some of y'all don't take advantage of that. That if you was, and I'm just stating that just because we had a conversation last week, no, this week I should say, along those lines. It was a crazy conversation. Things that were stated that I don't understand why an individual would even think that or say that. I do, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just say this with anything, not just with the word, just anything in life, period. If you know that there's something that you're doing and you have a resource, I don't care what the resource is, whether it's books, whether it's a person, whether it's a group, whatever it is, a resource that has the knowledge that you seek, or the wisdom or the understanding, the information that you seek on whatever it is that you're doing, and you don't tap into that resource, that is very unintelligent. Very. I wouldn't care what it was you were doing. I wouldn't care what it was. I'm just not just regulating to this to no word. If you have a resource at your disposal that can assist you in something that you're seeking after doing, why would you not use it? Why would you not use it? There are certain resources that became available, and then speaking with this gentleman today, that there might be even more resources. Now, I would be a fool not to use these resources if the need arose. Because that's what they're there for. Like, these people don't mind, that's what they do. So if you know you have a resource, and you know that if someone has made themselves a resource, then that means they really don't mind because that's what they do. Why wouldn't you use it? Why would you sit around wondering and like this? That don't make no sense. Because I know it's been times in my lifetime where I knew I had people I could go holler at about certain stuff on different things, but I wouldn't seen about that. I wouldn't holler at them about it. I ain't had no shame in asking them no question to go holler. I'm going to use that resource. I knew that's what they were there for. This nigga just didn't tell me, yeah, little bro, you need something, boy, you come holler at me, I got you. I sure took him up on that offer. I'm going to come see that man because he told me to. So I got you, man. Anything you need, anything you want to know, man, you just come holler at me. And I used to be that nigga doorstep too. All right, bro, check this out, man. I need you to explain this right here to me because I don't know like this here, man. They had no problem with that. That's wisdom. That's what wise people do. The book tells you that wise people hearken unto wise counsel and roll with wise people. So if you say that you are a wise person, are you hearkening unto wise counsel? Are you cleaving unto wise people? Are you a dummy, and do you run with dummies? So you can be like Fred Sanford and say, and you just a big dummy. Because dummies running with dummies lead to bigger dummies. Wisdom rolling with wisdom leads to wiser people. That's just common sense. Like I said, man, I don't know everything that every last one of y'all involved in, but if you know you got resources to assist you, and whatever it is that you put your hand to do, use them. Use them. It's just like what they say in sports, don't go in the locker room with no timeouts, man. What you taking them in the locker room for? What you got resources for and you not using them? Then why did you even go inquire after the resource? Why did you even go get the resource? Why would you get something and not use it? Because it's there for your benefit. It's only for your gain. It ain't going to hurt you. But we don't think like that because sometimes we feel the need that I got to go through this stuff alone and do it by myself. And we don't always have to do that when you know that there's somebody there that's going to assist you and they don't mind. Because I already know. I bet I holler at them, some of them people, and I need them. You know what I'm talking about? I think sometimes black people get like that because we be scared to ask questions and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I used to notice that in school. Niggas didn't want to ask questions. Nobody didn't want nobody to think they were dumb or this, that, that, and the third. And you could look at when the teacher say that anybody got questions, you could look around and see that some of these people had questions, but they wouldn't say nothing. And then wait till after class and ask questions amongst each other. That was dumb when you could have had the person who know what they talking about. Yeah, you might have a few people in the class know what they talking about. And there ain't nothing wrong with go holler at him or her. But why wouldn't you, when this person asked, why you ain't say nothing? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? When you look at other nationalities of the people, some of the people, don't say that's not 100%, but a lot of them don't do that. Their children will ask questions. And they will take full advantage of resources that's presented in front of them. Our people don't seem to do that. We have to get ourselves out of that mindset. What, Deuteronomy chapter 6? Verse 4. We talked about this a little bit on Wednesday, right? Here, O Yasharal, Yahuwah Elohim is one Yahuwah. We dealt with that. He's a God. We looked at John 10. I and my Father are one. We are God. We one. It's one body, one Elohim, one immersion. And y'all shall love Yahuwah the Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. And we looked at that. Listen what he said though. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. Listen what he tell you. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sit in thine house, and when thou walk by the way, and when thou lie down, and when thou rise up. See, we done dealt with that before. That's dealing with the master preaching to the Ruachs in prison, right? But let's look at it a little in this aspect, right? He said, all these words that I command thee this day, they should be in your heart. Let's look at Romans chapter 2, verse 28. Romans chapter 2, verse 28, and then I think Ephesians chapter 3. When we look at it that he preached to the Ruachs in prison and these things that he instructed, he preached himself to these people. That the Son should rest in their heart. And the words of the Son ought to rest in your heart. And we'll look at Romans chapter 10 just on general principle. And we've been mentioning it all night anyway. Romans 2 and 28. For he is not a yet. Let's just look at 25. For circumcision truly profit if thou keep the Torah. But if thou be a breaker of the Torah, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the Torah, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? Now, we know what the righteousness of the Torah, that is to believe. But hold this in here. Is it Jeremiah chapter 9? Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 9. I think it's Jeremiah chapter 9. Jeremiah 9 and 25. But let's look at 23 though. Jeremiah 9 and 23. See, we know the righteousness of the Torah. Abraham believed Yahuwah. It was counted to him for righteousness. So we looking at you, because the Gentiles didn't believe. They didn't have the word to believe. So this ain't even about just not keeping no commandments. The Gentiles keeping the righteousness of the law is the faith that they exhibited upon hearing it. Upon hearing it. But see, you a breaker of it because you heard it, you still don't believe it. Do you know how bad that is? That you been had it and don't believe it, and they hear it once and jump on it? That ought to put a nigga to shame. You hear me? I'm talking about shame. Shame. We ought to be shamed. I'm talking about our heads should be down low, just shame. Scared to look up. Just to be like that man in Luke, say he just smote your breast and say, Elohim be merciful to me, a sinner. We shouldn't even lift our eyes up to Shamahim, knowing we don't believe a single solitary word this man uttered. Say, thus saith Yahuwah, let not the wise man esteem in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man esteem in his might. Let not the rich man esteem in his riches, but let him esteem in this, that he understand and know me, that I am Yahuwah, which exercise loving kindness, which we know that loving kindness was sending the master here to lay his life down, judgment, because he executed the judgment of removing death and the curse on his son instead of putting it on us, and righteousness, manifesting the righteousness of faith and extending it unto all men, in their wrath, for in these things I delight, saith Yahuwah. So then guess what I turn around and tell us? That this man delights in these three things. That you love one another. Because the master said, the world will know you my disciples if you love one another. If you execute righteous judgment and be able to determine what's right from wrong, that you got discernment, which you should have by reason of use. And that righteousness that you should believe. He said he delights in that. That's why he says without faith it's impossible to please him. He can't delight in you and you don't believe in him. He said that's what you ought to esteem in, that you understand and know him. So guess what? We know that the Son of Elohim has come and given us an understanding that we may know him that is true and that we are in him that is true. Even his son Yahushua HaMashiach. This is the true Elohim and eternal life. That's what you need to esteem in, that you understand and know him. Do many Hebrews esteem in the understanding and know him, or do they esteem in the law? Grave error. Again, for a smarty art nigga, we ain't saying not to keep the law. Just like Paul said, we uphold the law. What do you mean? We hold that. But we don't put it above, faith. We don't put the righteousness of the law above the righteousness of faith. That's what we don't do. Because we know the law made no man perfect. But we know faith will make a man perfect. And we just know that, again, reiterating Amaziah. He did that which was right in the eyesight of Yahuwah, but not with a perfect heart. You got to remember this man will show himself strong on the behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards him. Strong. He said his eyes go to and fro looking for that. Will the Son of Man find faith when he come on the earth? Is that what he gonna find? Well, I'm at 25. I'm gonna read 24 again though. But let him that esteem in this, that he understand and know me, that I am Yahuwah, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith Yahuwah. Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that I will punish all them which are circumcised with the uncircumcised. Mizraim and Yehuda and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab, and all the uttermost corners that dwell in the wilderness, for all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Yasharal are uncircumcised in the heart. You don't believe in me. Circumcise your thoughts. Come on back to Romans chapter 2, man. That man say, should not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? So if you a breaker of the law, should not your circumcision be made uncircumcision? You don't believe in what I say? 27, Romans chapter 2. Shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the Torah, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law? For he is not a Yahudim, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Yahudim, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart, and in the Ruach, and not in the letter, who praise is not of men, but of Elohim. That's why he say, how can you believe that seek honor one from another, not the honor that come from Elohim only? See, you want somebody to tell you how righteous you is. See, that brother, that righteous boy, that brother don't eat no pork. Ain't no pork on his fault. See, that boy, that keep a mean Sabbath now. I'm telling you now. Well, you seen that brother garments? But he say, but inwardly you're full of dead men's bones and all manner of hypocrisy and iniquity, because you have not circumcised your heart, because you don't actually believe in none of this stuff. This is the problem that plagues our people. Now, what I was going to lead to. Romans chapter 10. Romans 10 and 4. Yeah, I call for Romans 9. I guess I'll read that too. Romans 9 and 30. Nigga 9 and 29. It ain't but 10:30. I can move right along. Praise Yah for the word. And yes, and as Yeshayahu said before, except Yahuwah Shabbaoth had left us a seed, we had been as Sodom and been made like unto Gomorrah. What shall we say then, that the Gentiles which follow not after righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith? But Yasharah, which followed after the law of righteousness, have not attained to the law of righteousness. See, we followed after Deuteronomy 6 and 25, but we didn't attain to Genesis 15 and 6. See, the Gentiles went straight after Genesis 15 and 6. You know what I'm saying? Again, showing you that framework of what he was talking about. If the uncircumcision, who by nature do the things that's contained in the Torah, is not their uncircumcision made circumcision, because your father Abraham was not circumcised until the 17th chapter of the book of Genesis. When he heard the word and believed, his uncircumcision was counted as circumcision, because he was circumcised in the heart, because all those words that man said, he laid them up in his heart and he believed them. See, it's a lot of us walking around, you ain't got no anteater on your penis, but you got one in your heart though. It's covered up. You got to do something with that. You got to do something with that. Verse 32, wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were the works of the Torah, for they stumbled at the stumbling stone. As it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone, a rock of offense, and whosoever believe on him shall not be ashamed. Again, Paul is reiterating that, and that's what we looked at when we seen that in the law. And y'all willing, we'll look at that and see that even more on the morrow. That's what we'll deal with on the morrow. Like I told you, showing you that the promise come before the instruction. That we don't seek it by faith, we seek it by the works of the law. That's our downfall. Still to this day, that's our downfall. That's our downfall. That's our downfall. A lack of faith will get you rejected very, very quickly. It's two things that'll get you rejected according to this word very, very quickly. A lack of faith and a lack of humbleness and a contrite heart if you have done something in error. Because he said a contrite heart and a broken heart, Elohim will not despise. So when you don't really have a humble and contrite heart for a transgression, for a sin, we don't say iniquity, because iniquity is just straight lawlessness. You know what I'm saying? But for transgression or for a sin, if there's no contriteness in your heart, if there's no humility in your heart, if there's no godly sorrow, that man gonna get rid of you. If you don't have no faith, that man gonna get rid of you. Because he can't do nothing with you, because he hates that. You're not gonna please him. And it's a lot of our people, sadly and unfortunately, they fit that. They don't have a humble and contrite heart. He said he that's of a humble and contrite heart to dwell with him. We don't have that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't have a heart of faith, therefore we're not pleasing him. You know what I'm saying? Because we're seeking it by the works of the law, we're not seeking it by faith. We can't make that mistake. 10 and 4 Romans, man. For Mashiach is the end of the purpose of the Torah for righteousness to everyone that believes. For Moses described the righteousness which is of the law, that the man which do those things shall live by them. Again, that's going back to that. You seeking it according to Deuteronomy 6 and 25 and not 15 and 6 of the book of Genesis. But the righteousness which is of faith speak on this wise, say not in thy heart, who shall ascend unto Shamahim, that is to bring Mashiach down from above, or who shall descend into the deep, that is to bring up Mashiach again from the dead. But what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. That is the word of faith which we preach. That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Master Yahushua, and shalt believe in thine heart that Elohim have raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart men believe unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the scripture saith, whosoever believe on him shall not be ashamed. So you understand, son? He said all these words should be up in your heart. So if Mashiach had been preached unto you, then you should have laid that up in your heart, and you should believe and you would confess that he is that Yahushua is the master and the son of Elohim. Because you would have believed that in your heart. That's why he said, I believe, therefore I have spoken. Therefore you would be saved, you wouldn't be ashamed, because you would endure. See, that Romans 8 would come into play. Nothing would separate you from the love. No tribulation, no distress, no persecution, no famine, no nakedness, no peril, no sword. No principalities, no powers, no malachims, no height, no depth. Ain't none of that going to separate you from that, because your faith is in him. See, the faith of the Father, that's why he loved the Father with all his understanding, all his soul, all his might, all his strength. Nothing was going to separate him from the promise that the Father made unto him. Nothing should separate us from the promise that Mashiach has made unto us, that we receive an inheritance. He promised you an inheritance. Are you going to allow anything to separate you from that? If you, and this is why I tell y'all on, I don't have no time frame on, oh, I ain't going to merge this person yet. They not ready. If you sit back and you say, I believe, look at Acts chapter 8. I'll just read it to y'all off the page like that. I just do it like that. Acts 8 and 35. Because, hey, man, I ain't put no time frame on that. But you notice that he said, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth. So you got to believe this stuff. A lot of people don't believe in their heart. Their minds, so they ain't circumcised their thoughts. Then Philip opened his mouth and began at the same scripture and preached unto him Yahushua. And as they went on their way, they came unto a certain water, and the eunuch said, see, here is water, what doth hinder me to be immersed? Philip said, if thou believe with all thy heart, thou may. And he answered and said, I believe that Yahushua HaMashiach is the son of Elohim. Like this here, man. If you done heard this man preach to you, and you say, I believe Yahushua the son of Elohim, I'm not gonna hinder you. Go ahead and handle that. I'm not going to hinder you. You know what I'm saying? Because if you believe that, then you know what you're getting yourself into. And then you know that you're seeking to get eternal life, which is encapsulated in his name, because you're seeking it after the faith and not after the law. Therefore, the law will be much easier for you to keep at that point, because the book says the just shall live by their faith. So you will live by your faith. Dude try to come at me and say, see, faith without works is dead. I say, I don't disagree with you. See, the law is in there, but when you actually read James chapter 2, he don't make no mention of no law about this man. He made mention how Abraham went to go sacrifice Isaac, and how that Abraham believed in Elohim, and it was counted to him for righteousness, and he was called a friend of Elohim. It was still predicated on his faith. There was no law mentioned there. There was no Shabbats. There was no ordinances or statutes mentioned there. It's the fact that he believed this man. See, we can't stagger at the promise through unbelief. Unbelief is a wicked thing. You know, he said unless you depart from the living Elohim through a wicked heart of unbelief. Unbelief is a wicked thing for a person to have. Nobody tells anybody this. Back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, though. Let's look at verse 8. Verse 8. Deuteronomy 6 and 8. Somebody need to tell the people this. Maybe then the heart of faith might begin to be developed in our people, and we can be stronger than what we've been. That we might actually begin to start seeing some power with Elohim. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. 6 and 8. Deuteronomy. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes. So then again, we were sitting back looking at what? The mark, in your hand and in your forehead. You know what I'm saying? The mark in your hand and in your forehead. The mark in your hand and in your forehead. But it said, and it shall be when Yahuwah thy Elohim shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou built not. Revelation chapter 3, verse 12, right? And Revelation chapter 21. Let's sit back and see that after you done did all this here, right, how you'll get a great and goodly city which you did not build. You did not build this city. Revelation 3 and 12. Revelation 3 and 12. Let's see this goodly city that he built that you didn't build, that he bringing you into. Him that overcome will I make a pillar in the temple of my Elohim, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my Elohim, and the name of my city of my Elohim, which come down from Shamahim, which is the city of my Elohim, which is in New Jerusalem, which come down out of Shamahim from my Elohim, and I will write upon him my new name. A goodly city, a great city, which you did not build. Because it's going to be built by Elohim. It's a city made without hands. Tabernacle made without hands, but made by Yahuwah. Come on back to Revelation 21 now. Now you can't receive this but by faith. You can't get this on no, I kept some law. Yeah, you say, Baruch to those that keep his commandments, that they have my, we're not sitting back looking at that. But if you don't have a heart of faith, this man already told you the fearful and unbelieving going in the lake. So to sit back and look at it, right, do not be Amaziah. It's the bottom line. Do not be Amaziah. Don't be him. Because when you get tried, you're going to fall. And you're going to do just like he did. And you're going to be just like how Asa was. And you're going to be just like how Amaziah is. Because you didn't rely on Yahuwah. And somebody come tell you, why did you not rely on Yahuwah? You're going to be angry with them. And you're going to lash out against them. And Yahuwah going to cut you off. Just like he did to them. Well, he cut Amaziah off, and he told Asa, you done stupidly. You'll have wars. So now you're going to constantly have trouble because of your stupidity. Don't be that guy. 21 and 1. Revelation. Don't be that guy. And I saw a new Shamahim and a new Arats, for the first Shamahim and the first Arats were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yachanan, saw the Kadesh city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim, out of Shamahim, prepared as a bride adorned for a husband. And I heard a great voice out of Shamahim saying, behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. Now this tabernacle, this how they're coming down from Shamahim. You didn't build that. Those cities, that street that's made out of pure gold that look like transparent glass, you did not build that. Because the eye have not seen, nor the ear heard, nor the heart perceived what Elohim had prepared for those that love him. You didn't build that. And the only way that you could be able to be brought into this place is because you done took this man. I'm sorry, I skipped verse 9, because verse 9 is what I actually we actually here for. So let's back that up. Verse 9 is what we actually here for. Verse 9 is the construct of the whole thing, what we here for. I'm going to read verse 8 again. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand. They shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. So remember now, all these things, you done laid the word of faith up in your heart. You got it in your hand and in your forehead because you done loved this man with all your soul. You done executed this faith. And then he says this here. And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. Well, let's look at something when he say write this stuff on the posts of your house and on your gates. Oh, man. You don't want to cooperate. You dirty whore. No, I got a trick for that. Sure do. We look at posts. Well, first, I'm sorry. Let's look at right. When we look at right here, we have katav. And that's to write or to record or to inscribe or to engrave. So keep that in mind that this means to engrave something. And then we sit back and we look at upon the posts. And that's mezuzah. And that's the doorpost or the gatepost. And then we sit back and we know what house is going to be. So we don't need to sit back and look at that. But then like this here, because we look at how we know that's the bot, and then we sit back, your house, your dwelling, your habitation, or your human body. And then we look at gates. And that's Shahar. And that's the gate, the entrance, the public meeting place, temple, or the court of the tabernacle. Or space or inside gate. So, let's look at something I think in Isaiah 57. Let's make sure that's what I want. I think that's what I want. Make sure. Isaiah chapter 57. I want you to look at verse 3. Because I got to tie this into two different things, right? Of what we came here for. So you need to engrave this stuff on the post of your house and on your gates. Then they put the blood on the doorpost coming up out of Egypt, right? We done dealt with that wars before. But y'all willing, let's look how we're going to look at it this time. Isaiah 57:3. It says, but draw near hither, ye sons of the sorceress, the seed of an adulterer and the whore. Against whom do you sport yourselves? Against whom make ye a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are you not children of transgression, the seed of falsehood? Most High willing, I'll tie this into Isaiah chapter 47. A little bit more in depth, which is the reading selection. But this is, you can sit back and look at this here. This is the whore of Babylon. You know, children of transgression, the seed of falsehood, because ye have of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. And he that commits sin is of the devil. And you know they said that she enchanted the world with all of her sorceries. She was the seed of an adulterer, because she lay with a false god. But nevertheless, continuing on. Inflaming yourselves with idols under every green tree, slaying the children in the valleys under the cliffs of the rocks. Again, we'll deal with that a little bit more in depthly. Just setting something up. But that ain't what we came here for. Just setting something up. And among the smooth stones of the stream is thy portion. They are thy lot. Even to them that has poured a drink offering. Thou hast offered a meat offering. Should I receive comfort in these? Upon a lofty and high mountain hast thou set thy bed. Even thither went thou up to offer sacrifice. Look what he said. Behind the doors also in the posts hast thou set up thy remembrance. For thou hast discovered thyself to another than me. And art gone up, and thou hast enlarged thy bed and made a covenant with them. Thou loved their bed when thou saw it. And thou went to the king with ointment and did increase thy perfumes, and did send thy messengers far off, and did debase thyself even unto hell. Thou art wearied in the greatness of thy way, yet thou said thou not, there is no hope. Thou hast found life, the life of thy hand, therefore thou wast not grieved. And of whom hast thou been afraid or fear that thou hast lied, and hast not remembered me, nor laid it to thy heart? Have not I held my shalom even of old, and thou fear me not? I will declare thy righteousness and thy works, for they shall not profit thee. When thou cry, let thy companies deliver thee, but the wind shall carry them all away. Vanity shall take them, but he that put his trust in me shall possess the land, and shall inherit my Kadosh mountain. Now, what do y'all think this man mean when he said, thou have taken your doorpost and set up thy remembrance and discovered thyself to somebody other than me? You've made your bed bigger and made a covenant with them, and when you saw their bed, you loved it. What y'all think that could mean? Anybody got any idea what this man could be talking about? Don't everybody answer at once now. Now remember, we just looked at these doors and these posts in the law. So, for these...
Like he just describing the wolf. She liked and put on extra perfume and trying to go after him.
Mm-hmm.
And then really didn't repent from it. Verse 10, you say that there's no hope. Like, you know that you see it wrong, but you still ain't going back.
Yeah. Now, in verse 8 here, for door, we have dollar fill. We have a dollar fill. So then we're going to sit back and we're going to look at also the post. We had the same word that we seen the last time, the door post or the gates, or a side post. You understand? So just keep that in mind. That's the same thing in Deuteronomy chapter 6, a side post. He said, but you set up thy remembrance. So that's a memorial or a reminder. So just keep that in mind. He said, you discovered yourself to another man. So when we look at discovered, it is to uncover or remove. It is galah, to depart or to go into exile or to show oneself or to reveal himself, to be disclosed, to make known, to reveal. And then he also sat back and said, just follow me now, just because like I said, because we got to get ready to wrap it up soon. And he said, thou have gone thyself to another than me and art gone up. So then we have Allah, and that is to ascend or to climb or to go over, to be taken or to be exalted or to ascend or to offer to bring up gifts. Then he said, you have enlarged your bed. And when we look at enlarged, it's to grow wide, it's rakab, or make larger and larger, make roomy or broad. In a minute, it's going to be real clear what we're talking about. And he said, when he sat back and he says that, thou made a covenant with them, thou love, we have the word aha, or the love. The act of being a friend. This is who you loved. You made a covenant with him, you loved him. Somebody else, not Elohim. And he said, and whenever their bed was, you loved their bed when you saw it. So when we look at the bed here, it's mishav, and it's to lie down, or the act of lying down, or sexual contact, or things of that nature. So let's sit back how you say now, setting up for remembrance. And let's see how we set this up for remembrance and how this got to work. We're going to look at the master first and then look at how we wickedly had departed. This is to protect you from something later on down the line. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23. See, when he said that you ought to put these things on your doorpost, what this is really referring to you is a doorpost or inscribed. Matter of fact, before we even look at them, because I got to deal with the inscribing or the engraving. Isaiah chapter 49, verse 14 first. Isaiah 49, verse 14. Let me do it like that. Let me do it like that. Verse 14 says, but Zion said, Yahuwah hath forsaken me, my master hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet I will not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands, and thy walls are continually before me. He's graven thee upon the palm of your hand. So he's katab, he's inscribed, he's wrote this. Well, how did he write this on the doorpost? Well, let's see how he wrote it on the doorpost. Luke chapter 24. Luke chapter 24, verse 36. Hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. Ain't nothing like it. And as they thus spoke, Yahushua himself stood up in the midst of them and saith unto them, Shalom be unto you. And they were terrified and affrighted and supposed that they had seen a ruach. And he said unto them, why are you troubled, and why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself, and handle me. And see, for a ruach have not flesh and bones, as you see me have. And when he had thus spoken, he showed them his hands and his feet. Now he done sat back and showed them his hands, because right there he's engraving the words on the doorpost. He done engraving the word right there on his hand. He's showing it to him. Just like what he told him to do in Deuteronomy chapter 6, he's showing it to him. Then when he sat back, he say on your posts or your inward parts, because his word is supposed to be engraven on your inward parts or in your heart. And then you will be able to enter into the land and receive that promise in this goodly city which you did not build. So this is showing us that on us, we have to crucify ourselves in Mashiach in faith, which I'm not going to go read Romans 6 about you crucifying yourself with him. But we will read Philippians chapter 3, verse 8, though. Because you know what Romans 6 say. Say, as many as been immersed in the Mashiach's death shall be raised in the likeness of his resurrection. So you're supposed to be, and the likeness of his death is that he had hope that the Father would resurrect him. You will not suffer your Kadesh one to see corruption. That's where his hope rests. Say, my flesh rests in hope. Well, you would have to know, if you've been immersed into this man's death, that your flesh rests in hope, that he will not allow you to see corruption, but that your vile body will be made like his esteemed body, because you held on to the promise and walked in the word as he did. And therefore you will receive that land which you promised to your forefathers, because you say you have confessed that you are a stranger and a pilgrim on the earth. Therefore you desire a city from Shamaim, where Elohim is not ashamed to be called your Elohim. See, this is a manifestation of faith. See, a lot of people want to go get immersed to get immersed. Oh, the book said I got to get immersed. No, you sitting back saying that I know that I'm going to die, but I will not be corrupted, that Elohim will fulfill the promise and give me the inheritance that he promised to me. He going to keep his word. So I'll live by that faith that I have in him. And I'll walk in that. because I heard him when he said he is one. The Father is in the Son is in the Father. You dwell in the Son dwell in you. Therefore you know and understand him, and that he is the true Elohim, even eternal life through his Son Yahushua HaMashiach. You'll live by that. Therefore, the fearfulness and the unbelieving will flee away, and now your circumcision is truly circumcision because you done circumcised your thoughts. First Corinthians 11:23. For I have received of the Master that which also I delivered unto you, that the Master Yahushua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This is the cup of the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as you drink it in remembrance of me. So when you turn around and you read this Isaiah 57, he say, Behind the doors also the post hast thou set up thy remembrance. That means these people are keeping a different memorial. Now what different memorial do you think this is these people keeping? Excuse me. What different memorial do you think these people keeping? Who got an idea what they think this memorial that these people keeping? Y'all ain't got no idea. Revelation chapter 13 then. Revelation chapter 13. Because remember, Deuteronomy 6 say you supposed to have this stuff written written in the grade in your hand and in your forehead. So you sit back and look at when you're immersed in the death of Mashiach, you supposed to be keeping this man's death in your remembrance to guide your steps and in your heart and in your mind. So they turn around and set up a different remembrance. That's why I say we'll work the whore aspect of it, the whore of Babylon. Y'all will on the morrow. So we look at Revelation 13, right? And we look at verse 4, which is tied into something we read in Isaiah 57. I'm just not finna zero in on it. And they worship the serpent which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who was able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemy, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And then he say he made war with everybody. But drop on down to verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Well, did he just say, Behind the doors and also the post thou hast set up thy remembrance, thou hast discovered thyself to another than me? And art gone up and enlarged thy bed and made a covenant with them and loved their bed when they saw it? So he's sitting back telling you that if you believe in Mashiach, then you made a covenant with him by sacrifice. Therefore you made a covenant with him by faith like Abraham did. And you would love Elohim. And you would cleave unto him. But instead, people are going to turn around and they're going to cleave unto this man. And they're going to remember him. Because remember now, the covenant, the way you're supposed to put this in your hand and in your forehead, is because of Passover. For you to keep this in remembrance. So it's the death of Mashiach. We done went over this before. This man is going to imitate the death of Mashiach. And the people are going to enter into a covenant with him. And they're going to remember him. And they're going to set up that remembrance. And they're going to make it a covenant with him. And when they see his bed, they're going to lie down with him. They're going to become one with him. The same way you're supposed to lie down. Romans chapter 6. I guess we look at it anyway. You're supposed to lie down with Mashiach in his bed in the same fashion. You're supposed to lie down in his bed. Verse 4. We ain't going to read all that. Just verse 4 and 5. That's all we want to. Verse 4 through 7. That's all we'll look at. You're supposed to lie down in his bed the same fashion to remember him. He say, take up your stake daily and follow him. That means you remember this man. That means you dead to the world, but you live under Elohim. You live under him who died for you. Leaving the old man behind. And then we'll get Philippians 3 and 8. Therefore we are buried with him by immersion into death, that like as Mashiach was raised up from the dead by the esteem of the Abba, even so we should also walk in newness of life. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall all be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed. Henceforth we should not serve sin, for he that is dead is free from sin. Well, this man is sitting back to get you to lie down with him so you can serve sin. When you supposed to be keeping this man in remembrance by engraving him in the doorpost of your home, or the doorpost of your body, or in your hands. Because if you look at the doorpost, that means you done spread out and you done crucified yourself with this man. You done got up on the stake and nailed yourself up there with him. Philippians 3:8. Therefore, you'll be able to receive the reward. Because you believe. And ain't many people right. He said you got many, they enemies of the stake of Mashiach. That's what Paul told you. They enemies of the stake. They don't want to suffer in the flesh. They don't want to deny themselves. They don't want to suffer for the word. It's easier to just say keep some commandments. But they don't really want to get into the nitty gritty where the faith is going to be required. That will require something. That will require some metal. 3:8, right? Philippians 3:8. Yea, doubtless, I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Yahushua HaMashiach, my master, for whom I suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I might win Mashiach. See, you got to sit back and look at it, right? You lost everything out of coming out of Mizraim. But at the end of the coming up out of that, you would get the excellency of Elohim, or the knowledge of Elohim. That's why I say you need to esteem that you understand and know him. But see, your ancestors coming up out of the wilderness did not esteem that to be a great thing, to count but dung what they lost in Mizraim. They wanted the doo-doo back. They wanted to go back to crap. Because they didn't believe. Be found in him, not having my own righteousness, which is of the Torah, but that which is faith of Mashiach, the righteousness which is of Elohim by faith. Because you know, my righteous servant will justify many. See, you don't want to be a Deuteronomy 6:25. You want to be a Genesis 15:6, going back to what we read in Romans chapter 9. You want to be found in Mashiach. It's a lot of brothers that they're going to be found righteous, but not in Mashiach, and they're going to be damned. And they're not going to understand why until he tells them. That I may know him. Listen what he said. And the power of his resurrection and the fellowships of his sufferings, being made conformable unto his death. If by any means I may attain unto the resurrection of the dead. You see why he say conformable, having fellowship or oneness with his sufferings, being made conformable unto his death. Because what do we look at in Deuteronomy chapter 6, right? We look at Deuteronomy 6. That man say you should write these things upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates, on your gates, in your heart, in the inner part of your body. The gates in this instance, because we know Bat is the house, you are the house. Know ye not that your body is the temple of Elohim? So the testimony of Mashiach, or the word like we read in Romans 10, that you should believe in your heart, that should be written upon your gates. And this man should be written upon your doorpost, because you should have crucified yourself with him. He should be engraven on the palms of your hand. This man should be in your hand and in your forehead, because you got a covenant with him and you walk with him. You don't need to be getting in bed with the beast. You don't need to be loving him and what he got to offer. So we had to sit back and look at, you know what's crazy when we look at it in the natural sense is that what a righteous man or woman has to offer, an unrighteous man or woman don't want. And that's how we was with Elohim. When you look at the Elohim and when the beast come. With the righteous, what Yahushua has to offer, we don't want to get in that bed and lie with him. We want to go lie down with the beast and what he got to offer. Because we see many people when there are sinners that have unrighteous things to offer, they seem to run after them, those who profess to have faith in Elohim. They don't seem to run after what the righteous have to offer, because the righteous don't have to offer the things that necessarily are appeasing to the flesh. I go back to what I stated earlier, that he'll bring the righteous together in however fashion he's seen fit to do it. That's why the wise stick with the wise and the fools stick with the fools. The faithful stick with the faithful and the unfaithful stick with the unfaithful. That's how that goes. You know what I'm saying? It ain't many on y'all on here that ain't got no mate. But ain't nowhere in the world you should want anyone that faith is not on par or greater than yours. If you're not already married. And if you're already married, I can't do nothing for you on that, but preach the word and pray that your mate faith is increased. But if you're not married, there is no way in the world that you should choose a mate whose faith is not on par or greater than yours. If it is not equal to or greater than yours, you have a serious problem in your brain where you just seeking someone out of loneliness. Because ain't nowhere in the world you should be sitting back talking about, I'm trying to bring somebody faith up, and you've been walking alone all this time. Now you talking about, I'm going to bring somebody faith up. That is retarded. You know what I'm saying? That don't make no sense. Because what's going to happen is that this person is going to draw you off and draw you away. Because all your energy going to be focused on bringing them up, and you might not necessarily be able to bring them up because their faith might not ever be brought up because they might have just been faking the whole time. See, one thing about it, you can't fake no faith. You can tell people who are staunchly embedded, locked in, 10 toes flat with this man. It's apparent. They walk different. They talk different. They move different. They think different. And when they get in adverse situations, they react different. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference. You can't fake faith. That's one thing you can't fake. You can fake a lot of things, but you can't fake that. People think they can fake it, but you can't fake it. That's just an Amaziah move. You're just doing the things that's right in the eyesight of Yahuwah, but your heart's not perfect. You can't fake that. It's either be the little subtle things that niggas will say and do to show you that their faith is not on point. And if you wise, you'll be able to pick that up on somebody who faith is just not strong. See, there's a difference where your faith is not strong and it's really not there. There's a difference between the two. Don't get it twisted. There's a difference between the two. There's a difference between being weak in faith and not having no faith. And being weak in faith is bad too, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? But see, being weak in faith, that can be strengthened. Even somebody who ain't got no faith, depends how long they've been hearing the word. If they've been hearing it after a while and they ain't got none, it's truly going to take the act of Elohim for them to get it, because there ain't nothing we could say or do to develop that. Maybe Yahuwah just decided not to open their heart for the reasons known unto him. Because we know that. We done looked at that. He opened people's hearts so they could hear the word. You understand what I'm saying? Come on back to Isaiah 57, though. I got to wrap it up. Matter of fact, let's go to Galatians 3 and 13. Y'all willing, I pick the rest up on tomorrow. It's 11:05. I'm not going to keep y'all that late. Not that late. You know, we'll be at the regular location. Galatians 3 and 13. Might not be 13. But I'm going to stop it right there, man. Work the rest in on tomorrow, y'all willing. 3 and 14. That the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Yahushua HaMashiach, that we might receive the promise. Matter of fact, let me use verse 11. Matter of fact, just let me use verse 7. Actually 6. Even as Abraham believed Elohim, and it was counted to him for righteousness. Know ye therefore that they which are of faith, the same are the children of Abraham. And the scripture foreseeing that Elohim would justify the heathen through faith, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, in thee shall all the nations be blessed. So then they which be of faith are blessed with faithful Abraham. For as many are under the works of the law, under the curse, for it is written, cursed is everyone that continue not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. But that no man is justified by the law in the sight of Elohim, it is evident, for the just shall live by faith. And the law is not of faith, but the man that do them shall live in them. So hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. Stop it. Oh.